Yes, somebody said that about my first episode. And to be honest, I really didn't plan that episode very well. Anytime you have a guitar plugged straight into the DI port of your audio interface, then you really don't get that good or great a tone. I had the gear to make the tone better, but I didn't use it because I was too preoccupied making my first episode. So let's fix it. The traditional way of recording or capturing guitar tone is by miking your amplifier. But there are a few reasons why it won't work here, where I am in my living room. Number one, each guitar amp has what you call a sweet spot. It's the best sounding tone that amp can give you, and more often than not, you need to drive it a little bit louder in most cases to get to that sweet spot. And where I am right now, I film these videos in the wee hours of the morning. I can't afford to crank my amplifier really loud lest I wake up my neighbors. Number two, when you mic an amplifier, you really have to be in a treated environment, and that's not something available to me right now. And number three, the great sounding mics that you use, with the exception, of course, of the Shure Dynamic 57, are expensive. Like, for example, one of the nicer mics is a Royer ribbon mic, the 1-to-1, and it is very, very expensive. So, for home recording enthusiasts, miking an amplifier might be too much of a stretch. Enter the Captor X. So I won't go on a full review of the Two Notes Captor X because you'll find that elsewhere. What I will do is play the guitar directly connected to the interface and then later on play it through the amp and the Captor X. So this is what the guitar sounds like when connected directly to the interface. This is a Telecaster. I'm using the middle position, and similar to my very first episode, it's connected straight. No pedals, nothing, no processing, no plugins, nothing. This is what it sounds like. Okay, so now I have the guitar connected to this Marshall DSL-20. I took out the speaker cable at the back of the power section, and I connected the Two Notes Captor to the 16 ohm speaker port, and then the Two Notes Captor X is running into my interface in stereo using XLR connections. So this is a very basic sound. What's interesting about the Two Notes Captor X is that it's also a cab sim. So it will capture the sound coming from the power section, the preamp and the power amp of this Marshall DSL-20, and then I'm applying right now a virtual cabinet, just a basic vintage Marshall stack 4x12 Celestion V30s. So this is a model of that cabinet, and this is what it sounds like. So it really gets or captures the essence of my Marshall amp. It sounds very similar when I'm using just the amp. It sounds a little bit different because I'm emulating a Marshall cabinet 4x12 cab, but in my amp I just have a 12-inch Celestion speaker. So it sounds a little bit different, but the tonal characteristics of a Marshall amp are there, right? So So I can actually go to the Torpedo Captor X software and change the cab. Let's change it to a Fender 2x12, and this is what it sounds like. There are a lot of, I think there's about 32 or so cabinets that come with the Captor by default. And you can buy more virtual cabs from the Two Note store. I think I want to buy the Celestion pack. Really good stuff there, so I hear. You can actually try it, and then if you want it, you can buy it. There's a limited time trial period of each cabinet. So there's a lot going on. But here's where the fun stuff begins. So I'm going to crank the reverb to about 1 o'clock. So we've got some reverb going on from the amp. I'm going to switch it back to the vintage Marshall 4x12. So there's a little bit of reverb there. And then there's an EQ section. There's a 5-band EQ. I'm going to leave that off right now because I did some EQ on my amp. This enhancer, I like it because it kind of injects a little bit of body. It lifts the sound up a little bit. Let's see what it sounds like. There's a dry-wet mix there. So I'll leave the settings there. So it just pushes the sound up a little bit. Gives it a little bit more body. There's a reverb also. It's not the best reverb out there, but it's usable, right? There's a noise gate. So there's a little bit of hum coming from my pickups. If I press this, I can now let it learn the noise that's coming from my pickup, and then it will apply the necessary threshold. So when I click learn, it says mute your strings. It's going to apply the necessary threshold, and now I have a noise gate. Now I can actually switch to my gain channel in my Marshall. Move to my neck pickup, and this is what it sounds like. So my gain is about a little past 9 o'clock, no pedals, all drive coming from the amp. Let's push that a little bit. At about 11 o'clock. Again, all the drives coming from the amp. I'm not using any pedals. I'm gonna push this to about 12 o'clock and show you my favorite feature of the Captor X, which is this twin tracker. So it's a virtual double tracker. Double tracking is recording a guitar part once and panning it on one channel, and then recording the same part a second time and panning it to the second channel. The principle behind it is you're not going to play 100% identical for both parts. There's going to be some nuances there that will make the two parts slightly different from each other, and that will give your recording some space, some width. And that's exactly what this virtual double tracker does. So this tightness knob controls the space between the two tracks. I've got it right now at about 10 o'clock. Let's see what it sounds like. Let's turn it off. This is what it sounds like off. And then let's turn it on. So there's some space between the two tracks. gonna push the tightness knob all the way and watch it create more space between the two parts. So I've got it configured now for stereo output. You can also switch it to dual mono, which means one channel will contain the wet signal, which is the cab sim applied, and then the other channel can contain the dry signal without the cab sim. So there's a lot of possibilities. I really like this device because I'm able to record great guitar tones coming from my tube amp in the comfort of my own home without being in a treated environment, without buying expensive mics, and without waking up my neighbors at this hour. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe.